Unreal Tournament 3 doesn't reinvent the first-person shooter, but it doesn't really have to either. It's the same great, super high-speed, really action-packed first-person shooter with an extreme multiplayer focus that it has been in the past. But the first-person shooter genre has really changed over the years and gone for all this militaristic, kind of slower-moving stuff. As a result, the high speed of UT3 and the modes that it offers managed to feel fresh and unique, even though it hasn't really changed a great deal over the past game. While it does focus on multiplayer play, it does have a campaign mode that you can go through by yourself and play against bots. And this kind of warms you up for the multiplayer mode by taking you through the different gameplay types that you'll see. There are 6 ways to play UT3 in multiplayer mode. 3 are deathmatch variants. You have the standard deathmatch, which is the free-for-all, everybody against everybody. You have team deathmatch that breaks those players up into 2 teams. And there's also duel mode, which is a one-on-one mode, while the other players who join just get to spectate until it's their turn to play. These are all played on the same type of maps, the typical kind of deathmatch stuff that you've seen from first-person shooters in the past, including Unreal Tournament. In fact, you'll see a remake of the classic Unreal map deck in this game that looks pretty nice and works well as well. The other 3 modes are more objective-based. There's Capture the Flag, which again is kind of an UT standby, and it's your basic Capture the Flag. You want to get into the base, get the other team's flag, get it back to your base while your flag is still there to score a point. CTF gets a little bit bigger this time around though with Vehicle CTF, and this is played on larger maps, and you can actually get into vehicles and move around. There's stuff like the Manta, which is a little hover thing that moves really quickly, and there's larger, slower tanks. You get this big walker that'll rise up and kind of just stomp across the map and just lay out these electric beams of just hot death across the map. You get another one that's like a little octopus kind of squid walker with a ball. You can actually retract the tentacles and just make it roll at enemies. You can just roll over infantry, bump into other vehicles that way, and then just pull the tentacles out next time you want to change direction or walk a little slower and stuff like that. So you get something a little more than the basic variety of tank, Humvee, Jeep, and that basic sort of stuff. Vehicle CTF is the same basic rule. You want to get the flag, get it back, but with the larger scale and all the vehicles, you really have to think a little bit more. You can't just go traipsing across this wide open field. You just get blasted every time. The other differences between Unreal Tournament 3 and the previous UT games are somewhat minor. The adrenaline system seen in past games has been removed, so you don't do the little button combos to turn invisible or get a speed boost or regenerative health or anything like that. The rules for jumping and dodging have changed a little bit, but these things don't really have a huge impact on the overall play. It's noteworthy because it is a change, but you're not going to really miss either of those things too much. The weapons in Unreal Tournament haven't changed a whole lot either. You'll see a few differences. The shield gun's been replaced by the impact hammer. The Enforcer is a slow-firing pistol that you get as your default weapon now. But overall, this is the same set of weapons that have stuck with Unreal Tournament for years now. The flak cannon, the bio gun, the shock rifle, all that sort of stuff is there. There have been a few balance changes here and there that if you're a long-time Unreal player, you're going to notice. So far, all of this probably sounds pretty standard. Like I said, it's not really reinventing the genre. But at the same time, it all comes together in a really solid way that makes for a lot of really great multiplayer excitement. You can jump into a server pretty easily with a standard server browser, get in there and really start mixing it up. You'll see a good variety of maps. The maps really are well tailored to the different modes. So for something like Capture the Flag, you get the standard kind of symmetrical bases and then linking them together and all that stuff, different pathways through. And those all work really well. Same deal for the larger maps with the vehicles. These are much larger maps. So it really gives you a different sense of scale than you get in Deathmatch, which is these mostly smaller maps and stuff like that. There's also stuff like Gateway, which is a Deathmatch map that actually has portals that link together really different looking areas. So you find a more industrial section, then you jump through a gateway and you're in the snow. You jump through another one, you're in the middle of a forest. It's a really cool map, and you kind of have a lot of little moments like that throughout the game, seeing these unique features, these different maps that really stand out and make it feel special. Like most PC games, Unreal Tournament 3 benefits from a high-end system. If you're able to turn everything all the way up and get into those higher resolutions with the high-quality models and still get a good frame rate, this is a really great-looking game. The models look fantastic. There's really good water effects, and just the textures and the designs of the levels all really just kind of pop and really look really, really sharp. That said, the game scales well too, so if you have a PC that's not top of the line, you're going to be able to play in lower resolutions, turn down some of the detail, Obviously, you're not going to get a game that's quite as pretty, but you can still get a very playable frame rate at lower settings, which makes the game just as much fun as it would be on a high-end machine. So regardless of what you have, if you have a somewhat recent system, you're going to be able to find that sweet spot where the game is still perfectly playable and still looks at least reasonably good.
Blue flag taken.
I have the flag.
Blue flag returned.
Ah, son of a bitch!
The soundtrack's really good, a lot of good music in there, and the weapon sound effects are all top-notch. You're going to hear some character voices in there as well. There's some cutscenes in the story mode. Those are all pretty well voiced too, so overall the sound is a good part of the package. Overall, Unreal Tournament 3 pulls off a pretty neat balancing act. It definitely maintains its ties to the previous games in the series and gives you that Unreal feel. At the same time, it manages to feel pretty fresh and unique because there aren't a lot of other shooters out there doing what UT does. When you factor in that the series typically has a pretty rabid mod community, you can expect to see support for it for some time to come. And all these things combine to make Unreal Tournament 3 a game that's most definitely worth playing if you're a fan of first-person shooters.